You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Surlana.
32 minutes, 21 seconds. 5-second tone followed by a 1-second pause.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Okay, gang, let's go.
From the space city called Houston, Texas, welcome to Spaceboy Universe, featuring Spaceboy and the lovely Surlana. So strap in and prepare for launch sequence.
Greetings and welcome to Spaceboy Universe. I am Spaceboy and across from me is the lovely Surlana. It is June the 9th, 2018. In tonight's show, we're going to be talking about the Bilderberg Group. That's right, and they're having their little conference going on right now, right, Surlana? She's shaking her head. So, as always, you can follow us on Twitter. That's at the SB Universe. You can follow me. That's Spaceboy at Spaceboy Music. You can follow Surlana at Surlana. Of course, make sure to hashtag your tweets tonight with hashtag SB Universe and hashtag Space Cadets. Want to hang out with those Space Cadets? Well, you can do so by going to spaceboyuniverse.com and clicking on the dance and chat bubble in the player, and that'll get you in with all the cool kids. You know, there are other places you can listen to Spaceboy Universe, and that is on things like Twitter. Well, you can't really listen to it on Twitter, but it'll get you to places where you can, which is like stuff on like spaceboyuniverse.com, iTunes, iHeartMedia. You know, I'm going off script here, Solano, because I don't have my script anymore because the cat put tea all over my script. Yeah, we won't speak of it. We'll continue on. But anyway, I'll muck through this the best I can. So anyway... So yeah, there's very many possibilities to choose from to listen to us from. And also, like, for example, if you can't listen to us live, which is every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, you can take SBU on the go with you. iHeartMedia, SoundCloud, YouTube, just look for all those fantastic places. You know, Surlana, speaking of YouTube, you know, we have great content out there. I know I catch you off guard every once in a while. Basically, YouTube is our channel for where we put our shows and archive them. We do videos. Recently, and
we've got new content up there.
New content.
Not a lot, but it's new content from Comic Palooza 2018. Mm-hmm. You can see Spaceboy doing an impromptu interview with the head of communications from Johnson Space Center, NASA.
Among other
really
things.
Awesome. And then, of course, the guy, he calls himself Boba Joe, who he was really into making Dragon Ball Z armor. So he's gone and built a Saiyan pod. And if you're from that world, you'll know what that is. And so we've got a Spaceboy interviewing Boba Joe about his passion for that whole universe. And that's very inspiring, fun. And then you interviewed an old friend who has co-written a fantasy book, and it's pretty interesting. So I think that was great. He had a booth there. Is Paul Vander, who co-wrote Soul Chambers. So go check it out.
So basically what I'm asking you to do, and what Surlana's asking you to do, is go subscribe, smack that bell off the goat, and become a subscriber on YouTube. Just look for Spaceboy Universe.
Is that a euphemism?
I just said slap the goat's bell. I didn't say anything else.
You said slap that bell off the goat. That's what you said.
Well, anyway,
it sounds like
tomatoes,
dirty
whatever.
Euphemism.
You know, we're just excited to be back on the air again because, you know, it felt like an eternity for last month where we were off. But we're back. We're live. We're in charge. And I guess Surlana's a popsicle over there. You know, it's cold in space.
Here's the deal. I don't know what's going on, but it's like minus 12,000 degrees in the studio. I've got my Deadpool jacket on. I'm wearing a scarf. I went and heated up some Earl Grey in a mug. I've got my hands around the mug because it makes my hands feel better. I think I've got arthritis. It's so cold, I want to cry.
Well,
But it's 83 degrees outside.
I upped the AC to 72, and
I don't know what's going on in this house.
And I think I have to go with you on this because
My nose is running.
my back is hurting again, like I have not experienced in some time.
The cold hurts you.
I guess the cold does hurt me, and I hate being sweaty. You know what I'm saying?
I totally understand that, but this is like ridiculous levels of cold. Now, when we get out of here and go to bed, please feel free to crank it back down.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
you know, but not right. I can't take it in here.
Like I said, I turned it up to 72 degrees. You should warm up a little bit with your cocoa, whatever you're drinking over there.
Earl Grey.
Earl Grey, that's
I have
right.
Earl Grey tea. Earl Grey hot. Yeah.
Earl Grey hot.
And I'm going to have to come down and face reality. I'm pretty sure I have arthritis in my right hand, but just my right hand. It's weird. Nowhere else. Just in my joints and my fingers and my palm of my hand. It's very odd.
Well, it's probably all the...
Have we talked? Yeah, we've talked about what's happened to you since you got your MRIs looked at, right?
Yeah, well, basically, just a quick recap is that there's a disc that they want to go in and fuse some bones together, and...
I thought they wanted to remove something.
The disc.
Through your throat.
Yeah, it's a frontal thing where they go through the throat area to reach the disc that needs to be taken care of.
God, it makes me want to pass out.
And, of course, the doctor said I have some pretty bad...
You've got arthritis, too.
Arthritis, too. And that's what's been flared up for the past... it's kind of a combo deal, But I've often said, and, whether it be on air or just conversations that I've had with you, is that I've always been in some kind of pain, some chronic pain, and
you and I both now, we're now going through our second family-sized bottle of ibuprofen in under a month between the two of us.
Well, I have not really been partaking of Advil lately.
You've actually been not complaining much, unless you're just keeping it to yourself. But I've not heard you
it's
screaming or crying.
It's kind of like it's like static in the background. I mean,
but it's not been like debilitating,
right?
It'd
be nice to turn that TV off so I don't have to hear the static. That's the comparison I'm making with the pain that I go through. So I have moments where I'm aching. I have noticed things where, depending on when it starts to hurt, I can lay my head down and let my stretch out my neck. And that seems to alleviate the pain that goes from my neck into my shoulder.
That's where the bulging thingy is, right?
Yeah. So, it is what it is. I'm still trying to make my way to recovery. I have a lot more good days now than I have in recent times.
It feels like it's improving, but it's not a thing where it's going to get better on its own. You're going to have to do something.
I can't go out there and chop wood or anything like that, but, I can get around. I'm not shuffling around like Tim. Oh, I forgot his name now.
Conway.
Thank you very much. So, but yeah, I'm making my way through the universe, and that's all that matters.
Downtown.
I've had a few days where I've been able to work on music. In fact, if you follow me on Facebook or you're a friend of the Spaceboy Universe thingy, I posted a song called World. It's from New Order, a cover, if you will. And I thought it was pretty good. So I got a chance to work on that today and posted it out there. So if you get a chance, check it out. Enjoy the tunage. It's, New Order, the band from the 80s. And good stuff. Anyway, so where do we go from here? So right off the bat, I'd like to get into some of the wonderful things that are out there in the universe. Listen to this. Los Angeles Times is reporting that Trump says he's likely to support ending the blanket federal ban on marijuana.
I was shocked by that. I mean, is that a confirmed thing he actually said?
Well, he says a lot of things, but, the thing is that, I'm not opposed to that. In fact, I've often said that.
Yeah, but for a president to say that, you understand that's pretty shocking.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like I don't know. I guess between you and I, because of my parents being hippies,
Yeah,
and
were.
I'm more inclined to like be more receptive to this versus maybe your strict upbringing and.
Well, I mean, just because I was brought up that way doesn't mean I still think that way. I think if you think about this, given in the context of what we will talk about later tonight, I think it's just one more way for the government to profit off it. Maybe they're going to find a way to profit off the taxes, or
That's one way to look at it. I mean, but I think once again, I'm not necessarily a smoker in general. So smoking marijuana.
You're not a smoker or a midnight toker?
No, but some people call me Maurice,
No,
the
they
gangster of love.
No, they don't.
Okay, well, anyway, you started
Poor
this.
baby.
Whatever. So anyway, the thing is, I was trying to go down this rabbit hole before you sidetracked me, is that I don't smoke, so I wouldn't, say I would smoke marijuana, but there is cannabis oil that has been used on different things and seen some really good results.
If they make it legal, why can't we get a hold of some kind of not over the counter, but like you go to a certain store or a place where you can have that oil in like a pill form or in some form? Because I know somebody that has used it in that form, not smoking but they've used that form for chronic pain.
Pain, yeah.
So I'm thinking there's other things we could get out of it if it became more accessible without prescriptions. You know what I'm saying?
It's been proven that it helps people with glaucoma. And people have done it for that. I mean, there are medicinal uses. I think this all goes back to when they first banned it. Right before, there were people using it for medicinal uses, and then the government got involved and took that right away from us
because they weren't profiting off it. I think
probably because you could grow it basically in your backyard if you
can get away with it.
Get away with it. But anyway, I found that very fascinating, and I on this issue, I'm going to say I hope Trump gets it federally unbanned, if you will. Of course, it'll be interesting to see if Jeff Sessions gets his paws involved in that, and that's the Attorney General, by the way, in case you didn't know, Surlana. So it'll be interesting to see. You got something over there?
Well, are you going to talk about?
Yeah, I was going to get to that one
too.
Ahead.
I like hearing you talk. I'm going to be talking a lot tonight, so you go ahead and get everything in.
Well, I'm looking for my thing here. And,
all right, I'm sorry.
Do you have something unrelated to that can give me time to find a dang?
Well, I didn't know this, but there's going to be a movie, I guess, or documentary. Ryan Gosling is going to star as Neil Strong in First Man. Trailer is out. It's it's written by Josh Singer. It's going to be adapted from James Hansen's biography, First Man: A Life of Neil A. Armstrong. So the film's going to cover Armstrong's life, 1961 through 1969, when he was an astronaut, an aeronautical engineer, and all the training he went through, the grueling training to become an astronaut. And the trailer spends some time on Neil and Janet's relationship, I guess that's his wife, and how the mission affected their marriage, how they suffered a tragedy when their 2-year-old daughter, Karen, passed away from a malignant tumor in 1962, which I did not know. So I think this should be an interesting film.
Well, it's interesting you bringing this particular film to the table because I have been doing a little research and I kind of wonder, do we really need something reminding us of that era of the space program? Yeah. Because I mean, you have movies like The Right Stuff. They go really in depth into the subject matter.
But is that fictional?
No, The Right Stuff is not fictional. It's based upon the story of.
This is about one man's life.
Yeah, but
and everything he went through.
I really don't think it's going to be that good. I hate to say it like that, just going out there like this, But and I know you just like, what? I wasn't expecting this from you. You know.
Well, yeah, but the nice thing is I get to slap you later. Nobody else can.
I think that I'm hungering more for what the future holds for NASA, or what space being turned over for commercial use and stories like that. And we're at a ripe time for storytelling. Nothing against Neil Armstrong, like first man to walk on the moon.
I think you're more interested in him. What happened after he got back in those years of silence?
Mm-hmm, that is true. I'm kind of curious about that. Ryan Gosling. I mean, he's like a safe bet as far as watching a movie.
Okay, let me sidetrack. What is the deal about Ryan Gosling? I'm aware that women find him attractive, but I'm just thinking he's like, meh. I've seen more attractive men, way more attractive men. He doesn't do anything for me, so there's my 2 cents.
Okay. Well, I mean, there are some ladies that like him, maybe even some gentlemen out there. He's nice because, you know where he's from?
Canada?
Yes, he's from Canada. And so, he I guess comes across nice in general. I mean, he's just a nice guy. And, but to each their own, I guess. Anyway, so yeah, see, Catalina is saying he's a cutie. And so there you go. I know you're saying it because why have him when you have Spaceboy?
Yeah, sure. That's why I'm saying it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyway, let's transition to something else.
Okay.
Some sad news this week. I was very saddened to hear that the famous Anthony Bourdain committed suicide this week. And I'm really kind of suspicious of this, Surlana. First off, it was sad to see him go because he seemed so positive in his documentary shows where he would go eat with people and have food. And I mean, he went all over the world. And
you actually watched that type of thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm aware of who he is and what he did, but I never saw any of that because
you didn't
travel shows and food shows bore me.
Well,
so.
it's beyond that. I mean, I understand there are some shows that are pretty pathetic. But he had a very unique way. It's kind of like when I was having a conversation with you, and kind of like how we do our show is that, we might have a disagreement with somebody, or we don't believe exactly what somebody's saying to us, but we've tried to search out the commonalities between us and have a good conversation. And, we're going to have some things where we don't agree on, but, agree to disagree. But overall, we're going to have a great conversation. And that was my feeling when I'd watch with him. I'd see Anthony, and I'd say, he's the kind of guy, we might have some disagreements, but we'll have some good food together, some good conversation, and good travels. And so his show was, I enjoyed it. You probably might have caught a few shows while I was binge watching or something, but at the end it was good. Now, what bothers me about this is that he supposedly before he passed away, he was threatened by Hillary Clinton.
What?
Yeah. Basically, about a month ago, he revealed that he had been threatened by Clinton's representatives, saying that, and I am in no way an HRC fan. I've been on the receiving end of her operatives' wrath, and that ain't no fun. So he, I guess he, had some disagreements with her and things like that. And so, he's been on the opposite end. So, first off, I'm not saying that Hillary went out and faked his suicide, actually murdering him, and then, But what bothers me is that I guess earlier this week, also, there was the famous purse designer that committed suicide.
Kate Spade.
Yes, she committed suicide. How did she commit suicide? Do you recall, or did you see?
No, I didn't see that part.
She hung herself on the doorknob with a handkerchief. Okay.
That's very elegant for a designer, I suppose, but that's a bit odd.
When I thought kind of on the same line. I thought, well, maybe she was going out, but the fact of hanging yourself on a doorknob.
Boy, she designed some cool stuff, though.
But the thing is that apparently Anthony had done the same thing. He hung himself on the doorknob, which it's kind of like, maybe a little eccentric. Somebody's doing that, but two people doing the same thing on a doorknob,
Very close together.
Very close together.
The time frame.
I mean, granted, I guess she committed suicide, and she was in New York at the time, and he was in Paris at the time. And it comes to find out there's a conspiracy theory coming out here, and I say conspiracy theory because it hasn't reached across the I guess the media if you would expect it to. But apparently, I guess Anthony Bourdain was in Paris, and he came across a pedophile ring and was going to come forward to...
Is that why Clinton was upset with him?
That's why I bring up the subject of Clinton earlier, is because we've heard the theories or conspiracy theories about the Clintons and Pizzagate and stuff. You know, it's an interesting night, people, because...
It's going to get even more interesting.
The subject matter that we're diving into, and then plus all this... It really gets you to a point where, oh my God, I can't believe, is this really going on?
This is going to unravel, and like it comes down and it goes around, and you're like, is there ever an end to this type of thing? Mm-hmm. You know, you dig under a layer, and there's like, oh my gosh.
So, you know, the thing is that I think that if this is true, that whoever's investigating the death of the fashion lady. And
it made me think of Phil Schneider, whose suicide was very odd looking. Now, he was into the ufology side of things. But
right.
Again, it's just very fishy, you know.
So I would hope that a good seasoned investigator could make, you know, a connection between these two and compare. And I think it's just sad that if indeed, if Anthony didn't commit suicide and he was murdered, that's a real bummer, because you know in the shows, and I bring this up again.
Why would he be murdered?
He was always in the shows. He had a piece about him. He was good. You know, he seemed happy. He always asked the question, "What makes you happy?" or "What gets you out of the bed in the morning?" And you know, it kind of gave him like he was searching to see for answers and truth, like we explore the universe. Just want to figure out how people think and why they think the way they do. And you know. He'll be sorely missed. So, you know, it's unfortunate he passed away. But, yeah, the conspiracy theories are racking up points here with him and the other lady that committed suicide.
Kate Spade.
Yeah, Kate Spade. Thank you.
She made these purses that look like owls, and they're like thousands and thousands of dollars. I'm like, oh, I want one so bad. I'll have to look them up later and show you. So,
but, yeah, he will be sorely missed, Surlana. He was on my...
That goes to show... She was wildly successful. He was doing great for himself, I assume, you know, financially, and you know, so you can seem to have it all and still be suffering greatly to the point where you can't take it anymore. Right.
There are people out that you know, enjoy success beyond belief, but in the end, it's almost like it doesn't fill that void that they're you know there's just no way to fill the void within them. And so their only outlet, it would be for them to take their own life, because, you know, it's just a terrible, terrible thing to have to go through, you know. So what else do you have over there, Surlana?
Found this out just now. Mm-hmm. If you're familiar with the Netflix original series Stranger Things, which we're going into season 3 pretty soon, there is going to be a merchandise tie-in coming out. It's going to be a prequel novel about Stranger Things. It's going to focus on the character 11, on her mother, her name was Terry Ives. So it's going to follow Terry's life and how she got into the MK Ultra program and tangled up with Dr. Martin Brenner. Eventually she gives birth to Jane, her daughter, and Brenner takes Jane and takes her right to this lab, and she lives her life there. So the author's name is called Gwenda Bond, and she's on Twitter. I just started following her, so I want to read this. So the book will be available next spring. It doesn't have a title yet, but so that's why I'm following her on Twitter. So I'll know when it gets released. It's going to be. I think that'll be really cool, and I will read it. So how about that?
Well, that's great. Did you ever get down that information about Russ Emanuel.
No, you didn't tell me to do that.
I did, but lucky for you, basically, Russ has reached out to me, and Russ Emanuel, who's been on the show. You want to tell the audience who he is again? And
Russ Emanuel's an independent filmmaker. He's been running around for about a year doing the independent film scene, going from film fest to film fest, winning awards for his horror movie. Mm-hmm. So he had emailed us both to vote for his film in some, I guess it was some independent film fest that it would win.
Yeah, let me take it from there since I've got this information.
Sure.
I just wanted you to bring the audience up to speed about, who he was, what he was pitching, and who he's worked with a lot. That you just
Robert Picardo.
Okay, now that we got that out of the way,
he played the EMH on Star Trek Voyager.
So we got word that that Collar is the official selection at the Short Stop International Film Festival during June 11th and 12th through 12th, or 11th and 12th, 2018. We are up for audience choice, and if you can vote for the film before June 11th. That would be awesome. So we're asking our space cadets to go ahead and
one day
and to at least get out there and do the vote since you're listening and you kind of tied to your computer. I will go ahead and get this email forwarded over to Surlana so she can get that link out there to the audience. And let's do a solid for Russ Emanuel and vote for his movie there and show our support from the universe and good stuff. There's a trailer out there for The Fifth Passenger. Mm-hmm. It looks like, I guess that's coming down the pipe pretty soon. So that looks pretty exciting, Surlana.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out someday. And Bill and Ted 3 is going to start filming in January.
Well, Surlana.
What?
Surlana.
Are we talking about Archer or something?
Oh, come on. You didn't want to play along with this game?
No, not really.
Basically, Kenny Loggins will re-record Danger Zone for Top Gun 2. So
I want him to do the version from Archer where it's a woman singing it and they've turned it into a country western song.
That's when Cheryl was doing the country
Charlene.
thing. Yeah, Charlene.
And Kenny Loggins actually sings on it, and he loves it. Mm-hmm. He does it at concerts now.
He was in episodes of Archer.
He was in that episode of Archer where they found something in Kenny Loggins' briefcase, and it was, I don't know what it was, a plutonium or something. Yeah. And I love how they drew him. They drew him like you looked in the 80s.
By the way, I forwarded that over to your Surlana at Spaceboy.
Okay, I'll get to it in the...
It was 19 years ago today that Zelda was released, and that's the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Pretty good game.
Ocarina?
Yeah, Ocarina. I'm having one of those tongue-tied
People just
nights.
might not know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. I appreciate it. That's why we're a team. We're a dynamic duo. And I guess, I was coming across an article about... Bad Robot. They're going to start producing video games.
Yeah, I just saw that before when you told me to stop talking because you had to check sound. So.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. And sounds are important, and we want our audience to hear how perfect we sound. And also, you caught the killer whales are murdering great white sharks and ripping their testicles off, among other things.
Is there like a gang war going on in the marine world?
Well, they were saying something that the orcas are definitely after the rich, fatty livers that these sharks have. But, I don't know why they had to go the testicle route, but,
It's easy to get to.
Well, and that reminds me of another story I read earlier this week about a poor man that was out swimming and got his junk chopped off because a shark bit him in the area. And so, so you can imagine a man how he feels about hearing that happen. But hey, a lot of good stuff coming up next. We're going to be talking about the Bilderberg Group tonight, and Surlana has gotten her research on. Should be for a fascinating show, and I see all the space cadets up there and doing their thing. Oh, look at there, Dennis, the media magnet he is, has put up some information about Russ Emanuel's Caller.
Yeah, click that link to help vote for Russ's film to win the audience choice, viewer choice, and he'll appreciate it.
Yeah, cool.
And maybe we'll have him back if he stops roaming the universe trying to win awards.
So before we go to break, I just want to leave you with one last update. NASA has found something on Mars. It held a press conference earlier this week, and guess what they found?
Farts.
There you go. And you're listening to Spaceboy Universe. I'm Spaceboy, and she's Surlana. We'll be right back after this.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Surlana.
This is author Jordan Root. You are listening to the Spaceboy Universe.
This is K28, and I'm listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Hi, y'all. This is Lori calling from Texas, and I love listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Hey, this is Dave Cruz, host of Beyond the Strange, and you're listening to Spaceboy Universe.
This is Wendy. I'm listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Hey, y'all. This is Lorelai DeLille. I listen to Spaceboy Universe. Don't you? Tell your mom and them I said hi.
corrupts you.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe. Here are your hosts, Spaceboy and Surlana.
All right, we're back. And before we get into this conversation, I want to just kind of give our audience a kind of a heads up. So this last week, you know, it's like I'm talking to Surlana, and it's like, hey, we're back live. Do you have an idea for a show topic? And she said, you know, I'd really like to do something on the Bilderberg Group. And I thought, well, that's great. I'm all before that because this week they're having their meeting. And so
as we're speaking, their meeting, and they'll be finished tomorrow.
So my question is, did you realize that they were having their meeting this week?
Nope. It was that weird serendipity thing.
So I said, Surlana, let's go for the topic. I think our audience will love it, and they'll indulge into it.
And then I had to cram research.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is that we're going to have a good night talking about it. The phone lines will be open a little bit later.
Yeah, and I think you and I should have some good, back and forth, because I know you must have opinions.
Well, I'm full of opinions, but,
Oh, you're full of something,
Yeah, well, anyway. So, without any further ado, let's get into the topic. The Bilderberg Group. Where do we start from here, Surlana?
Well, I have this very carefully organized, if you can believe that. Bilderberg Group, what is it? Okay, so I read from different sources and, scholarly articles, videos, and I got through half of a book because of limited time frame. So according to this one article I read, and if you want to know my sources, I'll tell you later. This group, this meeting, is an informal council of transatlantic elites. Or that could be an opinion. Mm-hmm. Now, this is a group of people that meet every year. There's about 120 to 150 people, and they meet in different venues to discuss pressing issues of international concern. Now, that seems rather innocuous and to everyone's mutual benefit. But what gets people's goat is
hold on.
Got to be on the ball, babe.
I'm sorry, I was just busy slapping the bell off the goat.
I think we're just going to not say that anymore.
Anyway,
okay. So what's really getting people's goat is that how secretive this whole thing has been up till the last few years, but and that secretive nature naturally attracts conspiracy theories. And we'll get into that later. I'm not going to get too deep into that at this point. So, when it was first formed, the Bilderberg Group, it was regarded as a European plot to undermine, Europe thought that this group was a U.S. plot to undermine socialism. But here in the U.S., the conservatives here believed that the Bilderberg Group was a plot to undermine democracy and capitalism. Well, it turns out they're both right. So, some of these groups, excuse me, I'm reading the wrong thing here. So, keep in mind that this group has been around a while, and they like to spot talent. Two of the people they've spotted for talent is Bill Clinton and Tony Blair.
Yeah, because I was reading and watching a few things, and they do like to take in people that are newbies, if you will, and then kind of unknowns, and groom them for the future.
Now let's get into the origins. Let's get into the history of this. Now, the reason I'm getting into this is because as I found out the history of the Bilderbergs, I uncovered where it goes back to before that, and how all these tangled threads go back to one thing and then one person. And I was like, holy crap. So, origins of the Bilderberg Group meeting. There's this peaceful village called Oosterbeek in Holland. Oosterbeek took heavy damage in the fight between Allied forces and German SS forces in September 1944. Yet, in this village, there was one building that had fairly minimal damage, and it was Hotel de Bilderberg. So the Bilderberg and Bilderberg meetings just came from this hotel where they did the first meeting.
And when did that take place?
1954. Mm-hmm. Now, they said to understand the origins of the Bilderberg Group, you need to understand the origins of another group, which we have talked about in a previous broadcast where we talked about the U.S. shadow government or deep state. Well, what is that? Well, we argued, well, it could be the NSA or it could be the CIA. Well, who created the NSA, the CIA? Well, who created the CIA? So one source I read says to understand the origins of the Bilderberg Group, you have to understand the origins of the Council on Foreign Relations here in the U.S. And I said we've covered that in the shadow government. So the CFR, just like the Bilderberg Group, is a bunch of wealthy, smarty-pants people who try to understand. They say they get together to try to understand the world and foreign policy choices that are facing the U.S. and other countries. And again, it's made up of international bankers, financiers, lawyers, heads of state, U.S. representative, etc., leaders of corporations and big, businesses. So one of these largest conspiracies about the CFR is that they aim to form a one world government. So this seems to be the case that's been agreed upon by former Judge Advocate General of the U.S. Navy, Admiral Chester Ward, who is a 16-year CFR veteran. Now, Ward said the CFR's real agenda is to have a one world government. It's a lust to surrender our independence of this country. Yet this was a national group, not an international group, so it was just to inform and maybe influence our government. Now, so we already had the Council on Foreign Relations in place here before the Bilderberg Group. So over there in Europe, they're thinking that, oh, well, we need something over here like the CFR. So after World War II, it was seen that that's what was needed in Europe. This group would need to meet to help unite Europe and America. Now, here's where we're going to start seeing the budding of the European Union, some of these anti-American feelings over there in Europe. I don't know where those came from. We had just saved their butts in World War II. Where all that came from, I don't know. So, it says if any one person can be credited with the formation of the Bilderberg Group, it is Joseph Redinger, I don't know how that is actually pronounced. So, Joseph Redinger was a Polish scholar who is the personal secretary of Joseph Conrad. Does that name strike a bell? Well, Joseph Conrad is a Polish writer. He wrote Heart of Darkness. And Redinger had some really interesting ties to some really interesting, influential, elite people in Europe and the UK. He did some work behind German lines in World War II as an agent of the British Secret Service. And it was Redinger, who saw the need for a group like the CFR over there in Europe. So, in the late 1940s and the early 1950s, I'm just going to call him Joseph from now on, because I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Joseph helped launch the European Movement, or EM. Now, this movement was an organization of, again, elite groups who worked towards the federalization of Europe. Now, in order to do this, they got support from America, the American Committee on a United Europe, or ACUE. Now, that was a group that was administered by an influential U.S. citizens such as William Donovan and Allen Dulles. Any of those ring a bell? So these two elite groups, the EM and the ACUE, got together, and they would be the conduit of secret CIA subsidiaries of the European Federalists. So now, at this point in my research, I had to stop and go, well, what the heck is European federalism? Here's what I found. Quote, okay, the federalization of the European Union is the institutional process by which the European Union is transformed from a confederation towards a federation, which is meaning they go from a union of sovereign states toward a single federal state with a central government consisting of a number of partially self-governing federated states. So, I'm getting that, I don't know if this pertains to the topic, but talking about the EU, I also found the concept of Europeanism. And what Europeanism is the common belief that only a European federation based on the idea of unity and diversity could prevent a repetition of the suffering and destruction of the two world wars. So they adopted a declaration/program which, based on this idea, federalists believed that only a common effort of European citizens working toward this goal could create a peaceful and democratic Europe guaranteeing freedom and protection of human rights. So, every time I'm looking at this, I can't help but think about Star Trek, where they talk about unification, and it's a federation of planets.
Mm-hmm.
You know, of course, it's more, you know, hopeful in the future, but so we're looking at the beginnings of the EU, I think, here, and they're saying, this is what I don't get. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out, my whole life I've lived here in America. I've only left the state maybe 5 times. I've never been anywhere internationally. I've never crossed an international border. So I don't know a lot of stuff about foreign relations and foreign policy and foreign blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to figure out in my mind, you've got Europe over there. You know, this is Spain to, I don't know, whatever, Turkey. You've got all these countries sitting right next to each other. Like you could drive across the border. You're in a whole nother country, speaks a whole nother language, whole nother set of values, policies, culture, beliefs from what you just left. And they're all sitting right next to each other, all nice and cozy. So what is it like to live up against each other like that with your own different currencies and beliefs and political systems and ideas and languages? I can't even begin to know what that must be like. So I'm trying to get my head around that. Is that part of the reason they felt like they needed to be more united? So it's important to understand these concepts because it all started in Europe, because at this time in history, just after World War II, Joseph saw that there was a huge anti-American movement in Europe. It was spreading. So what he did is he went to the Prince Consort of the Netherlands. That guy's name was Bernhard. Keep his name in your mind. So Bernhard was going to help Joseph assemble a team of leading Europeans to collaborate and report on all the causes of the European anti-American movement. Again, I did not find out what the cause of this anti-American movement, given that we just saved their butts in that World War II. So, I mean, was it our policies or our dictates during these treaties for peace? Or, I mean, I don't know what it was. I didn't have time to find out. So, anyway, this group would send their reports on their findings to a counterpart group here in America. And this group in America would have the chance to respond in private high-level meetings. So far, this all sounds really legit to me. There's a growing concern in Europe about people not liking us. Here's what we found out. We're going to send it to this group over here in America. I'm like, so that seems legit. You would want to know if somebody starts building up, you know, hate crap about you. Wouldn't you want to know it? So, but it was all under strict high-level secrecy. Now, another concept I found about during all this time is that Redinger was a faithful believer in something called Atlanticism. And now you're going to go, now what's that? We've just had Europeanism and we just had, you know, this other thing. Well, I had to go look that up as well because I want to understand as much as this as I possibly can. So I'm going to try to summarize it. Atlanticism, or is also called transatlanticism, just fun to say, is the belief that a close relationship between the U.S., Canada, and Europe is important. Our political and economic and defense issues should be aligned, and the security and prosperity of all these countries I mentioned would be protected, as well as the perceived values that unites them. Well, that seems logical given that Canada and America are basically populated from Europe.
Mm-hmm. Well, we are the great.
We ought to be on board with them.
We're the great melting pot of the world.
All of them, yeah. So now this concept of Atlanticism, of course, manifested right after World War II. Mm-hmm. That's logical. They're like, well, we just almost saw our globe torn asunder by this war. Now all our allies need to get together on board and, get on support program with it, because from what I recall is we were staying out of World War II until we got attacked in Pearl Harbor. We were dragged into it. So this Atlanticism implies that there's an affinity for American political or social culture in Europe with a regard to our historical bonds. And our historical bonds meaning like we were populated and founded by people from Europe. So far, that sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Touchy-feely, that kind of thing. So I apologize. I can't get involved with chat because I'm busy talking.
Okay.
So I apologize to the people in chat.
Just know that she loves you all, and that
I'll have to go back and read it all.
Yeah.
So if you ask me questions, I can't see them.
I'm actually monitoring that.
Okay.
So.
All right. So far, Ratzinger and Prince Bernhard, like, let's get this together. Let's get together a council and meeting a group to talk about this stuff in Europe. So he got also the support he needed. He put together a meeting to discuss matters of international importance with no publicity of any kind. Now, other European leaders soon followed suit with this because they had some observations they wanted to share, which they all put in a single document which summarized European criticisms of American policy. And once again, they sent this report to America, where the response here in America was so controversial, no one even wanted to talk about it until after the 1952 president election. And I have a typo. I have got 1052, which we didn't even exist in 1052. So in 1953, 1 year later, America finally responds to Ratzinger's report. But what did this report say that was so gosh darn volatile? Did not find that out, but I'm guessing it was so anti-American, they didn't like how we ran our country. Again, which is amazing considering this is the country that just saved your butt. So this report's now seen as an urgent matter, and the American response was to address their misunderstanding, quote unquote, of international policies, colonial problems, economic questions, and questions of method. So they decided to have a second meeting, or Ratzinger's team was just referred to as the group. And then there it was agreed that they needed even a larger meeting to be held in the Netherlands so that more U.S. and Europeans could hash out their problems together as they identified them. So in May 1954, in a Dutch town near Arnhem, 75 men met. Yes, men, actual men only. And of course, who was one of these men? It was David Rockefeller. And you're going to hear his name come up again and again and again.
Well, it's, I like how you brought his name up because it goes back to when we talked
he's coming back up again and again.
Talked about the great captains of the industry. And you had the Rockefellers, you had you had Carnegie. His name came up recently. And how a lot of these guys that at the turn of the 19th century came up. And
it was him. It was Rockefeller, Vanderbilt, Carnegie, and Morgan. Mm-hmm. And these guys left a legacy that has not stopped. And You can call it a legacy of evil if you want to, but we'll unravel that in a moment. I was just trying to catch up on this.
Sure, I just wanted to kind of circle back to the captains of industry and how...
See, that's the reason we did that show, is because you and I know through the research of other programs we've done where all this stuff goes back to.
It's all connected. I mean, it's like a domino effect.
Yeah.
You know?
So,
and I can't stress this enough, and I know people have heard this so many times. If we do not learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it. And basically, these are stepping stones through time that we need to be consciously aware of.
We don't learn from it, but we go back and cover it up and obliterate it and change it. Then we'll never learn from it.
That's another thing where to the winner, history gets to be written by the winners, and that history may not be correct.
And chairs are for earners.
Yes, chairs are for earners.
So, of course, Rockefeller was deeply involved in these meetings. I understand. I'm coming up to that. Now, this meeting was described as the most unusual international conference ever held up to that point. This is the one in 54. It was highly guarded. No publicity, no discussion from the participants to anyone outside. And the persons that were there ranged from prime ministers, foreign ministers, leaders of political parties, heads of big banks, and, of course, industrial organizations like Rockefeller.
Well, that's a good stopping point, Surlana, and fascinating topic tonight. And I see that our chat is hopping like crazy, and we'll open up the phone lines a little bit later here. But I'm glad that we got a chance to talk about this subject matter and how interesting. How what's the word I'm looking for? Serendipity, where when I
didn't know it was happening, but I just felt compelled to talk about it.
Yeah. So
when things come together without you knowing or planning.
Exactly. So it's kind of like we're both in sync, and I was thinking about it, and you were thinking about it, and so anyway, let's take this break so we can get back into the discussion. You're listening to Spaceboy Universe. I'm Spaceboy. She's Surlana. We'll be right back after this.
This is Patrick Scott Sport, and you're listening to Spaceboy Universe.
He is listening.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Surlana.
Hey, Surlana!
What?
If Spaceboy Universe was cheese, would you eat it? Come on now, it's a simple question.
Maybe.
SpaceboyUniverse.com.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe. Here are your hosts, Spaceboy and Surlana.
All right. I'm feeling a little bit more lighter there. And, well, I didn't want to burp on air, but, I saved our audience the
blew out my eardrums.
Well, talk about blowing people's eardrums out from burping. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, when I'm listening to Surlana.
Okay, let's just move on now. We left before the break. They decided they needed one big meeting of the group they were calling themselves. So they had it. And this first big meeting was deemed a success, and they left feeling a, quote, rosy glow of American-European friendship and cooperation. Well, ain't that nice? Again, this seems like a good thing to everyone's benefit. Good international relations in an environment where the public and media can't misinterpret what's being said because they ain't there. Now, I sped read through this Kindle book by William Price called Bilderberg Group, What Don't You Know? Now, in this book said, one of the earliest and most persistent rumors about the Bilderberg Group was that it was, quote, approved, instigated, and perhaps funded by the CIA. Yet, there's been no evidence ever to support this. But you know what? That don't matter. Who made the CIA? As we know, it's the Council on Foreign Relations. And that's all in this country. So, that doesn't even matter. CIA. They don't even enter into it. So, who was the inspiration for the Bilderberg Group? The Council on Foreign Relations. And maybe it's that the CFR was instrumental in making their own European counterpart. Maybe they said, hey, that's a good idea. You need a group just like ours over there. Now, the CFR was supposed to be like a think tank where they get together and they talk about foreign policy and foreign relations and what could be done or should be done. And they made suggestions and gave advice, but they didn't vote or create policies. But darn good and well, brainiacs don't get together for no darn good reason without the media. And then nothing gets done. I don't believe that. So, when the Bilderberg Group was formed, it was formed out of a concern about anti-American feelings in Europe. They wanted good relations with the West, which, that's good. We did just save their butts in a huge war. And they've got all those countries living together, cats and dogs living together. They addressed the currency difference by creating the euro. I guess that's one way to unite Europe. And I guess that was all well and good until Brexit. So I had to go look up, why did the UK leave? I'm trying to get to my link. It's way at the bottom. The EU. So I just did a cursory, oh gosh. Now it wants to update. Jeez.
What's it trying to update over there?
Firefox. Every time you touch Firefox, there's an update. Anyway, so I'll pass over that real quick and get back to where I was here. So, everything seems well and good and upfront about the formation of the Bilderberg Group. But what makes it to the point where people are like, I don't know about this? Well, it's the secrecy. They have this rule called the Chatham House Rules. Now, in the first meeting, they agreed upon all future meetings will be held under the Chatham House Rules. Now, this is a set of rules made by the Royal Institute of International Affairs in 1927. This rule says that gives them the freedom to say anything in these meetings and the ability to be quoted but not identified. That way, you can't take it out of context or hold it against that person or their corporation or their government or their country. So you can repeat what was said, but not who said it from these meetings. Mm-hmm. So Sorry, I keep missing my place here. Now, this book by Price says, sure, they have this Chatham House rule, but they don't follow it. It actually just gives them more secrecy, where sensitive subjects can be discussed without damaging reputations. They actually will not talk publicly about anything that was discussed. Now, these meetings have rules that have been published by a steering committee, and the Bilderberg Group does have a website. You can go there right now. Now, the steering committee says that if you're an invited attendee of the Bilderberg Group, this is the rule for you. Invited guests must come alone. No wives, girlfriends, husbands, or boyfriends. Personal assistants cannot attend the meeting, and they must eat in a separate hall. Guests are explicitly forbidden from giving interviews to journalists. Price says this group is like Fight Club. You don't talk about it. So, and now these meetings started in 1954, and they've been held once a year ever since 1954. Now everyone knows about them. Still not what goes on in them, but we all know about the meetings. And they take place at different venues, but it's always at some high-end hotel or resort, either in Europe or North America. And when I say North America, that includes America and Canada. Now, Joseph Redinger was secretary of the Bilderberg Group until he died in 1960. After he died in the 70s, they found out later that Redinger accepted bribes from the Lockheed Corporation in return for the Dutch government's purchase of F-104 fighter aircraft. So, when they found that out about Joseph, they started digging into Prince Bernhard's past. And they found out that Bernhard had been a member of the Nazi Party and of the Reiter SS, even though he denied it. So in 1976, he was removed as chairman of the Bilderberg Group. Now, there was a time when these meetings were not as well known as they are today, and I think that's just because we have so much media. We have so much, in many ways, to cover things that you can't hide anymore. So it was up until the late 70s. No one really knew or talked about these meetings. But in the 70s, reports started to leak out sporadically here and there in the press. And that's only in Europe. Here in America, there was almost nothing about Bilderberg Group meetings. It was all deny. Even U.S. senators and even the Deputy Assistant Attorney General, Mary Lawton, wrote in 1975 in some kind of memo to the White House that the White House had never heard of the Bilderberg Group. And even as late as 1998, the UK Prime Minister Tony Blair was asked about this by another member of Parliament. This member of Parliament asked Blair, "So which members of our government have attended these meetings?" And Blair said, "None." Despite the fact that Blair himself attended in 1993 with Gordon Brown and been going regularly since 1991.
I believe Tony Blair was one of those that handpicked at the beginning. No one knew him, and then look where he got him.
So they did pre- and post meetings with the press conferences where they declared nothing of note or interest happened in these meetings. Sure, okay, let's stop it for a minute and think. Why would 150 notable, wealthy, influential people gather once a year since 1954 to talk and do nothing? Nothing of any note. Mm-hmm. Also, as Price points out in his book, why would our people from the U.S. be attending on our taxpayer dime if nothing gets done, decided, or influenced? This book, he also points out Members of royal families are not allowed to attend Bilderberg meetings. Yet, who has been there? Prince Charles, Prince Philip, King Philippe of Belgium, King Juan Carlos of Spain, King Harold of Norway, and Queen Beatrix of the Netherlands have all attended these meetings at one point or another. So, screw the rules. No one questions that. You know? So in this country, there seems to have been like a 50-year blackout on knowledge or admission of Bilderberg meetings. So it was not until 2012, the first article about these meetings was published in the Washington Post. But guess what happened in 2013? Jeff Bezos, owner of Amazon.com, bought the Washington Post, and they quit talking about it. Interesting. Bezos attended a Bilderberg meeting in 2011. Now, what's odd is, sure, there's this media press blackout, but representatives from the New York Times, Der Standard, Newsweek, National Review, Wall Street Journal, Los Angeles Times, Time Magazine, The Economist, The Financial Times, Die Zeit, La Figaro, Le Monde, The Observer, and La Stampa have all been at Bilderberg meetings. And then there's the network executives from BBC, CBC, ABC, CBS, NBC, and PBS. Yet, did you hear anything from them about these meetings? And the elites and these bankers really dominate these meetings. And you can just look at a list of attendees, which you can find anywhere if you Google it. And I'll bring up some of those in a second. Now, the topics have been vague in the past because we don't know what they talked about. But now they have a website you can go to. And you can see what they're going to talk about. And I'll get to that in just a moment.
Well,
I'll get to that in just a moment.
Okay, go ahead.
Now, everything I looked about in some videos that you and I have watched about the Bilderberg Group say, this is a group that gets together not to make decisions or directives. They simply discuss. And the reason they don't want to cover this media is so that the attendees will feel free to express opinions and ideas without any diplomatic repercussions. Statements can be released, but nobody can be, they can't be attributed to any one person. So you could say things like, well, former Secretary General of the U.S. said blah, 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 blah. Well, you're not going to get that from these meetings. Mm-hmm. So what do they actually do? Well, they say it's just for like-minded people to get together without the stress of media to exchange ideas in informal settings. Or is this an unelected, unaccountable group that makes decisions that impact every single one on the planet? What is their purpose? Well, the ultra-secure and secretive nature of these meetings makes people wonder, speculate, theorize. Senior members of staff from press and television go to these meetings and they don't talk about it. So on one hand, it can seem rather innocuous. Maybe this is all for the greater good. Then you find out more recently now what they actually talked about. So they do post their talking points. So all you have to do right now is go to bilderbergmeetings.org. I'll pop that into the chat for you.
And, this is the part I wanted to interject is, how can you take what they're saying off their site to be trustworthy?
Well, I don't know if it's trustworthy, but you and I will talk about why they'd be talking about these certain things. Okay. Now, the thing is, this meeting is happening right now as we're speaking in Turin, Italy, and it will be over tomorrow. I did not know that when I decided I wanted to talk about this. It was just a spur of the moment cram session for research, and here we are. It's happening right now. So I get the pat on the back for looking like I'm timely and relevant and hip and up to date. It was just a stupid coincidence. So what do they talk about in these meetings? Well, let's focus on what they're talking about right now. Now, in the past, they've talked about how to start wars, especially with Iran.
Mm-hmm.
What would be the impact, benefits, the loss, the gain, all aspects of war? Now, people who have served in various U.S. presidents' administrations are there. It's not just people who are there under Bush. It's not people who are just there under Clinton or Obama. It's every presidential administration. Somebody from that administration is there. It's not whoever the current president is. So people who have done favors for past presidents, even Trump, are at this meeting. A lot of Americans are at this meeting. And yes, even the Princess of Darkness, Hillary Clinton.
Are you sure that she's been at the meeting? Because
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, I don't recall that she's ever been. I know that
I believe she's been invited.
I know that former President Bill Clinton has been.
Well, I read something about they brought her in because they thought they were, they're vetting her, they're getting ready to groom her.
Mm-hmm.
So they're pretty sure she's going to be the next president.
Well,
and then, boom!
It's interesting you bring that up because I do remember seeing a picture of her and Rockefeller walking down a path together.
Coincidence?
And, she was, even though she's been in the Sing for some many years, going back to, when Bill got elected. And, but yeah, they were having this conversation, if you will. And there's a picture out there of it.
I don't doubt it for a moment. So, what are they discussing right now as we're talking at the Bilderberg Group? Well, here is a list of 12 topics. I'll run through them real quick, but you and I are going to break down some here. Number 1, populism in Europe. Number 2, the inequality challenge. Number 3, the future of work. Number 4, artificial intelligence. Number 5, the U.S. before midterms, and I think this is midterm elections. Mm-hmm. Number 6, free trade. Number 7, U.S. world leadership. Try not to laugh. Number 8, Russia. Russia is always on someone's agenda. Mm-hmm. Number 9, quantum computing. Number 10, Saudi Arabia and Iran. Number 11, the post-truth world. And number 12, current events.
Rick, let me circle back real quick. The midterm elections are coming up in November.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that's probably what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's important for, I guess, the whole world.
Well, when it comes to America, yes. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's all about that control. And if they can put people into control, then, it's a matter of, keeping their people voting, keeping the voting a certain way. For example, who Lindsey Graham is? Lindsey Graham has gone to these meetings over there. He's up there in Washington. Very well known. He tried to run for president, but failed miserably. But and I can't think of. There's a few other senators that I can see their first names, but not their last names. So I'm not going to say them. But there are people in Washington that are going to these meetings that have positions of authority up in Washington, and so we have people in Washington that are going, but it seems like the newest part of the people that are going to these meetings now are Silicon Valley. Because you brought up AI, and AI is a very big subject matter that needs to be addressed because you've seen what AI unchecked can do. And could you imagine if a group of individuals had their hands on something with AI and how they could dictate and how you're absolutely right. It could be the beginning of Skynet for all we can
well, then
see.
Why would they be talking about quantum computing? Same reason? Or?
Well, the quantum computing angle is that having a computer so fast and so able to chomp down on the numbers.
And is it a real thing?
Yeah, quantum computing, yes. It's coming down the pipe. It's not that far off into the future. And so you're talking about a computer that could solve the most complicated questions as like with
the meaning of life, the universe, and everything.
Well, that might take a little time because we saw how Deep Blue had to take its time, and we all know that the meaning of life is love. So
no, it isn't. It's 42,
which is love. we'll have to watch that movie again.
42.
Love. It's 42, but it's love.
Is this a tennis score?
We'll debate this on another show altogether.
Anyway, let's talk about populism real quick.
But anyway, let me finalize my thought process here, is that with a quantum computer, you could come up with a solution of something and faster than a human could. So could you imagine if you were trying to control the masses or the public or in some kind of way?
You need machines that can respond quickly.
It's faster than you
to switch off that thing in our brain, the chips that they put in there. Okay. Well, I didn't understand what the term populism meant, and they're talking about populism in Europe. So, went and looked that up from Wikipedia. Populism is a political philosophy supporting the rights and power of the people in their struggle against the privileged elite, 1%. Critics of populism have described it as a political approach that seeks to disrupt the existing social order by solidifying and mobilizing the animosity of the commoner, or the people, that's you and I, against privileged elites, that's them, and the establishment. Oh, why would they want to be discussing our struggle against them?
So in essence, basically, populism is basically the folks at the bottom of the ladder, the support of concerns of ordinary people, of Joe Q public.
We're getting tired of their crap.
And somebody who wants to have control, that's a big concern, because they, when you have somebody that's free thinking,
they're worried about that in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Did they not have that before? That feeling before of the little guy rising up?
I don't think so. I mean, when have we seen in history, when that has happened? Well, we saw in France when they rose up against
you're so smart,
the monarchy, and I mean, I do
French Revolution.
I do have a brain here. I enjoy actually you coming up with this research. It's always fascinating. But things like in France, that was an uprising. They were tired of being ruled by the monarchy over there, and
I'm gonna give you a hug.
And see,
not right now though.
I know.
Maybe in a few days.
So we'll see. I'll keep you a posted, audience. But anyway, the thing is that the France thing is the exact.
No, it's hot in here.
The thing is that France is a fine example of the people getting tired of being.
They were
shoved.
ruled by monarchy and the elites, and then flipping Napoleon wasn't any better. He claimed to be a commoner, but he ruled like a dictator, royal, and everybody had enough of that crap and just went. And they took their cue from us when we said, England, get your butt out of here. So it's just it's like cycles.
You forget sometimes we have an international audience, but
I think England's awesome. I really do. I would like to go there without actually going there.
Without crossing the big pond?
I would like to find somebody who lives there and maybe has a phone with a camera, and they could do FaceTime where I'm not the face, but they could show me as they walk around, hey, here's this, here's that, and it'd be really cool. It'd be like my own personal tour.
Anyway,
of England.
So there you go. They're basically common people who just they want to live. They want to be happy.
So they're concerned about this.
Yeah.
Why are they so concerned about people who are not happy with them?
Well, pitchforks and
so
chasing down Frankenstein, and
I keep telling you what I've read is say the people who attend Bilderberg meetings are elite, wealthy, influential, and they're concerned about the little guy, you and I, getting upset with him. So that puts a rather sinister spin on these meetings now, doesn't it? Another thing that jumped out at me from their list is the post-truth world. And I was like, what the heck does post-truth mean? Well, I know it was word of the year, according to Oxford Dictionary. They put it in the dictionary officially. Once I got past all that stuff, I had to look up, what in the world is post-truth? Well, post-truth or post-truth politics, it's also called post-factual politics, post-reality politics. Well, post means after, right?
Mm-hmm.
After the truth. So the definition doesn't really align with that, but this is what I found for it to mean. Post-truth politics is a political culture in which debate is framed largely by appeals to emotion disconnected from the details of policy and repeated by the repeated assertion of talking points to which factual rebuttals are ignored. This is starting to sound like two presidential candidates debating. Anyway, post-truth differs from traditional contesting and falsifying of facts by relegating the facts and expert opinions to be of a secondary importance relative to the appeal of emotion. And while this has been described as a contemporary problem, some observers have described it as a long-standing part of political life that was less notable before the advent of the internet and related social changes. Now, what that wordiness means is, screw the facts, I'm upset. You're going to listen to me be upset, and we don't care about the truth of facts. Nah. Basically, they just described Facebook. That's what that means. So, as of 2018, this quote goes on, this definition goes on. As of 2018, they should have put a comma there, and they didn't. Political commentators have identified post-truth politics as ascendant, meaning it's rising, in many nations, notably the U.S., because we're the capital of crazy, the UK, and Russia, among others. As other areas of debate, this is being driven by a combination of the 24-hour news cycle, false balance in news reporting, and the increasing ubiquity of social media. Now, what that means is fake news and garbage is on the rise because of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Anybody, anywhere can post anything at any time, whether it's true or not. And that is absolutely polluting our minds when you're trying to get to the truth. And that's why you've got so many shows like Spaceboy Universe or Coast to Coast AM or, you know, all these other shows that you like and you listen to that I can't remember the names of right now. That's why they exist, because we know that there's garbage out there. We're trying to sift through it and get to the truth. And that's why I looked into the Bilderberg Group, because I think there's a lot of garbage about it, surrounding it, and contained in it. So basically that was a wordy way to say what's going on with media and politics. We've got the 24-hour world at our fingertips. Little of it's factual, little of it's truthful, because so much of it's easily accessible and changeable. It's not fair and it's not balanced. Anyone, anywhere can post anything, anytime, and a lot of it people will believe blindly. So again, why are they discussing it at these meetings?
All right. Well, we'll discuss it more when we come back after our break. Hey, you're listening to the dynamic duo of Spaceboy Universe, Spaceboy and Surlana. And don't touch that dial.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Surlana.
The epic battle begins this Friday. Direct from ringside at Laser Death Melt. It's Bot versus Bot in Galaxy's 2-ton weight championship, where your challenger, Good Bot, will face the reigning champion, Bad Bot. You're terminated. Reserve seating starting at $30. 2-drink minimum, where ladies don't get in free. This is an SBU production. You're listening to Spaceboy Universe.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe. Here are your hosts, Spaceboy and Surlana.
All right, Surlana, we're back. And so did you want to pick up? And
yeah. And you and I talked about, it's interesting they're talking about AI and quantum computing because I guess they're trying to figure out how to use it to their advantage. Now, I'm not surprised in the least they're talking about Russia and Saudi Arabia and Iran, given the context of which they've talked about in the past, like how to start wars or, you know. What's your opinion on them? What would they be discussing about Russia at this time, right now? What's up with Russia?
Well, Russia has been trying to...
Put your phone down.
Well, I'm actually reading things related to
all right.
Oh,
you're not screwing around over there.
No, but you caught me off guard with the Russia thing.
Sorry.
Just that the world is... It's a big mess as it stands right now. Russia has been doing its own thing, and you've got the wild card right now. I know I'm going back from Russia to back to the United States, but the reality is the Bilderberg Group did not want Trump to win the election. They had already a
lot of people didn't.
They were really planning to have Hillary win this election, and one of the major players in the Bilderberg Group was George Soros, and he threw money at her campaign left and right. He was a big supporter of her thing, and so you have this wild card that they can't control, and
Well, does that mean? Could I assume, as a a citizen of this country, Trump getting elected? Does it mean the process still works? My vote actually counted, and that's what got him in there? Or is there somebody saying, no, we've got plans? It's got to have to be Trump because we got these plans.
The thing is that, we could talk 10 ways to Sunday about the election and how Trump won. It came down to populist views where people, the pendulum had been shifted.
You're saying the media got him in here, even though they didn't mean to. It's just the coverage of it.
I think the factor is that there were people that are sick and tired of things in general, and so here we were as a nation that went from George W. Bush to Barack Obama.
I'm tired of these fucking snakes in my Senate.
What I'm saying is the pendulum went so far to the left with Barack Obama. That
well, that's just normal. We get 2 years of this guy, 4 years of this guy. Now we want this guy. No, that didn't work. We go back to this guy.
Well, Trump is not like the pendulum that has been shifted back and forth.
So you're not saying we're going from ultra left back to ultra right?
No, because Trump is not.
Trump is somewhere in the atmosphere somewhere.
Well, a lot of people would agree with you.
Can't pin him down?
They can't pin him down. That's exactly why, and that's why there's a big concern with the group because.
And we're dangerously talking about
and even
politics.
Even recently, George Soros. Now I'm getting tired.
Soros? Is that his name?
It's Soros. Said that
sounds Greek.
All the plans that we've planned out that could possibly go wrong have gone wrong, and
Murphy's Law.
Well, he sees that all these plans that he had been working with the group and everything have not panned out the way they're supposed to because of the wild card nature of things that are out there right now. So you're absolutely right. I don't want to go further into politics, but
But that is relevant.
It is relevant because this pendulum that has shifted from from George Bush to left to Barack Obama.
Well, that's just normal political trends, right?
No, hold on. Let me finish. That people were, they were looking for a president that would have a gravy stain on his shirt. And what I mean by that is just an average Joe Schmo like you and I that would speak for them.
Would Trump have a stain?
Well, he's kind of like, he doesn't fit the mold of these typical, I mean, you were there, you saw the election, and how he beat all of the Republicans up there.
I have to admit, I laughed a lot during the elections.
I mean, he really captivated a lot of people, and agree or disagree to any of his politics, the man is a master of media. And, he really uses Twitter as a sword or a dagger, if you will. to cut down his enemies.
No other president. Of course, we've had Twitter long enough for other presidents to talk, but I don't think Barack Obama went out there and just blatantly tweeted left, right. He did it under POTUS, right? He did it under the official. And it probably wasn't even him.
There has been...
Whereas Trump had his own, and he'd been tweeting for a while.
There has been no other president that I can recall that has...
Motor mouth.
...has been like Trump. Now, Ronald Reagan was the master communicator. He knew how to communicate. He
had Twitter.
He came from entertainment, but he had a way with words, and you know, but you can't really compare Trump with him in the same way, in the sense that he has his own way.
I'll back off of Trump right now.
Yeah, because you're digging.
It's getting dangerously close to.
All I'm saying is that
talking about politics.
That the populace, just like back in France, people rose up. They were tired of the status quo, and they picked somebody. That's because the pendulum went
the only reason I asked you that is that leads me to believe that our processes here are still working. We're still living in a democracy.
Well, some, depending on your point of view, feel that Russians got involved and rigged the election, and there is so much hoopla that's out there. Who can you trust? Who can you believe?
Again, we just went over this, the post-truth world.
Exactly.
All right. So, just to reiterate,
from there.
Bilderberg meetings, they say no votes are taken, no decisions are made, no policies are pushed at these meetings. So why in the heck do they bother to get together? So many of them from such diverse areas. It's an informal discussion. Now, I wanted to briefly talk about the attendees. Who's there right now as you and I are speaking? They're meeting their second to last day. So there's a ton of people here. I'm going to see if I can just find somebody notable. An economics professor from Harvard. Let's see. Deputy Premier of Quebec, Minister of Economy. Let's see. A Washington Post columnist. The General Director of UNESCO. Office of Secretary of Defense. I'm not reading their names, I'm just reading their titles. Chairman of the Goldman Sachs International. Former Vice President of Red Cross. Governor Province of Antwerp. CEO of Royal Dutch Shell. Let's see. A Prime Minister. The President of the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, which they say is ironic because they like to foster war. Let's see. Governor of the Bank of England. Minister of International Trade from Canada. A professor from MIT. Secretary General Office of Federal President of Austria. Chairman of Fiat Chrysler Auto. Writers, journalists, presidents, vice chairmen and presidents. Former Vice Chairman of Federal Reserve. Former Governor of Bank of Israel. I'm just trying to go through these kind of quickly. They're listed alphabetically. And of course, who's there? Who's always there? And he must be drinking the blood of the youth, Henry Kissinger.
Yeah, he hasn't passed away yet.
He's 95.
Wow. Yeah, I saw a picture of him recently. His hair is like pure white snow color, absence of color, if you will. But yeah.
The editor-in-chief of The Economist, which we've mentioned before. Director of Engineering of Google. Author and columnist of Wall Street Journal. Emeritus Honorary Professor in Philosophy of University of Cambridge. The editor of the London Evening Standard. Senior Deputy Governor of the Bank of Italy. More prime ministers, more deputy prime ministers, chairmen, partners. Oh my gosh, it goes on.
But like I said earlier in the program, a big chunk of new people that are going to these meetings are the people from Silicon Valley. And, that ties in with the AI and the technology and even dealing with the truth as far as the word out there.
And not surprisingly, former attendees have been Bill Gates. He's been to at least one meeting. And a guy who's been to at least one meeting, Chris Hughes, he's the co-founder of Facebook. Also, another individual who's attended 6 Bilderberg meetings is Eric Schmidt, CEO of Google.
Mm-hmm.
So does this mean that the Bilderberg Group is trying to maybe control, influence, manipulate the internet? Don't know. But in some of the videos you and I have watched, some people suggest that after these meetings take place, new legislation, economic booms and failures and wars get started and ended right after these meetings happen. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to try to look at this over here super quick. About what's happening right now, Bilderberg 2018, new tech helps oil the wheels of the global elite. And this is on theguardian.com. The secretive meeting in Turin, Italy embraces AI and Silicon Valley, as you just said, with globalization under threat. So there are, as I just pointed out to you, billionaires, bank bosses, prime ministers, deputy prime ministers, NATO Secretary General, the German defense minister, and the King of the Netherlands, and of course, the undead himself, Henry Kissinger. And they just said that royalty was not supposed to be there. And there's the King of the Netherlands. He's there. Kissinger shows no signs of slowing down because I guess, he's drinking the blood of the youth. Well,
it's just like Rockefeller. I mean, he lived to be 101.
Well, he probably had his own personal hospital and doctors.
He like I was telling you, he had gotten heart transplants within several years before he passed away, but just to keep him alive,
AI is high on the agenda. Demis Hassabis runs Google's London DeepMind project, has been invited back to the Bilderberg Group, joined by Hartmut Nevin, head of Google's Quantum Artificial Intelligence Lab. The guest list features researchers from biotech, robotics, stem cell research, and human-machine biointegration. Just sends chills down your spine, doesn't it? Means the conference has both a futuristic feel and a nostalgic air with quantum computing alongside U.S. world leadership in Russia, as we talked about. So they're racing toward a bio-integrated smart future. And, of course, big oil is there. As I told you, the Royal Dutch Shell is represented there by their executive. The French oil and gas industry, called Total, has sent their chairman, which is a French name I cannot pronounce, so you're just going to have to be wondering who that is. So they're going to be welcome there.
So basically, with all these people that you're mentioning, it sounds to me like you have the changing of the guard. You have these people that have been in the group for a long time, and then you have the new, which is, I keep going back to Silicon Valley, because they do represent a big part of the future. I think there's some European people that are in it, that insurance-related matters, some other tech-related matters like collections of money, of how to handle money, like a PayPal. I can't think of the name of the group that's out over there.
Is it Musk?
No, it's not. The name of the company I can't think of. But I think it's Stripe. I think it is Stripe.
Huh.
But anyway, these groups, these technologies, if you will, are the up-and-coming stars of the future Bilderberg Group that they're going to be a part of. And what goes beyond this, Surlana, is that you didn't mention, these groups.
I'm not done.
Well, do you know? Go ahead.
Well, in researching this, I found out that the Bilderberg Group is pretty much modeled on the Council of Foreign Relations. Well, so you've got the CFR and you've got the Bilderberg Group. Well, in 1973, it said, hey, we need another group. It's not enough because CFR is about the United States and foreign policy. Well, the Bilderberg Group has been always about North America and Europe. And when I say North America, I mean Canada and America and Europe. So in 1973, in this country, the Trilateral Commission was formed.
I was going to say it's actually North America represents Mexico, North America, and
I'm sorry,
Canada.
Mexico. I just had your wonderful food yesterday. So anyway, the Trilateral Commission, again, is very similar to the CFR and the Bilderberg Group. It's a non-governmental discussion group, but they're aimed to improve relations between Europe, North America, and Japan. And surprise, surprise, pay attention, it was co-founded by the CFR chairman and Bilderberg Group attendee, David Rockefeller. Again, these attendees for the Trilateral Commission are politicians, financiers, wealthy businessmen, and women. Let's just make that fair. And academics. Now, one thing I've heard is, this group, this commission, the Trilateral Commission, wants to dismantle U.S. sovereignty. They would like to see Canada, U.S., and Mexico merge as one country. World Bank presidents have come out of the Trilateral Commission. Like, they go in, they serve on this commission, and next thing you know, they're the president of a World Bank. Their influence is incredible in the U.S. and in Europe. Now, the Trilateral Commission does publish reports about their meetings. There's quite an overlap of topics between the CFR, the Trilateral Commission, and the Bilderberg Group, which makes people wonder if the Trilateral Commission is just a means to bring in Asia. When I say Asia, I mean Asia Pacific regions, countries. Now, there's different aspects of the same agendas, but they all seem to be independent think tanks. Now, the Trilateral Commission tries to pull in the Japanese ruling elite, and they get together and make sure their own powers and influence stay like they want it, to manage dependence and democracy at home and abroad. Now, here's a quote I found. Really interesting. One of the commission's primary goals was to place a trilateral influenced president into the White House in 1976. And to achieve that goal, it was necessary to groom an appropriate candidate who would be willing to cooperate with the trilateral aims or the agenda. This candidate ended up being Jimmy Carter. So, let's go back and just do a quick recap here. The Council of Foreign Relations said they were put together because they wanted the U.S. to better understand world and foreign policy. The Bilderberg meeting said they wanted to get together annually to discuss and foster dialogues between Europe and North America. And the Trilateral Commission said they formed because they wanted private citizens of Japan/Asia, Europe, and North America to foster close cooperation. Ain't that all nice and cuddly? Well, given the bizarre and secretive nature of these things, naturally there have come the conspiracy theories, which is the fun part of any discussion. So why are there so many crazy theories? Well, it's due to that secrecy and their amped up security measures. And the Bilderberg Group is invite only attendance. And they do invite big mainstream media, but those media do not discuss what was discussed in these meetings. So all that secrecy and security does not help when it comes to, it just fosters speculation. So if you do a cursory search on the Bilderberg Group on YouTube, you will not believe the amount of stuff you're going to find out. A lot of it is pretty crazy. Mostly it's just random people's opinion and takes on what the group is and what they do and what they want to do. This ranges from people saying it's just a brain trust to it's the New World Order, they're going to try and enslave us all. Now the problem is, given the people we know who go to these meetings, it is easy to feel like they are trying to influence something, and we don't know if it's for good or bad. Now these people have money. These people who have served for or are serving for international governments, military leaders, diplomats. Here's a quote. If the Bilderberg Group is not a conspiracy of some sort. It is conducted in such a way as to give a remarkable good imitation of one. And that is a quote from a column that was published in the Financial Times by C. Gordon Tether, May 6, 1975. Now, real quickly, people like David Icke says the attendees of the Bilderberg Group are actually reptilian shapeshifters. This is the New World Order meeting to make totalitarian state, to implant us with tracking devices, which is all biblical, the mark of the beast. This is Revelation stuff. They're the Illuminati. The Trilateral are trying to control the internet because Al Gore was a member. He says he invented the internet. He didn't actually do it. So what kind of influence do they have? Now, speculation about the Bilderberg Group is that attendees are sometimes invited to be vetted to see if their views align with the group's agendas so they can put them in future positions of political power. So if that's true, then true democracy in this country is an illusion. Now, if we accept that these attendees in the Bilderberg Group are the ruling elite, as they do seem to be, what do you make of this supposed statement by Vladimir Putin when he said, 95% of the world's ruling elite class are not even human. They're cold-blooded hybrids, members of an ancient cult. As David Icke said, the world is governed by alien, reptilian, shifters. In other words, giant lizards. And conspiracy theorists have accused the Bilderberg Group of everything from deliberately engineering the credit crunch to planning to kill 80% of the world population. And longtime opponent U.S. radio host Alex Jones, what you want to take what he says with a grain of salt, heckled one of their meetings through megaphones saying, "We know you're ruthless, we know you're evil, we respect your dark power." Weird. So it seems to me there's just no good alternatives out there. Totalitarianism and dictatorships are stifling. Socialism and communism seem downright unfair, but capitalism also is in place to kind of keep us a slave to this monetary reward system. Now, here's my super quick conclusions, because I know we're coming up a hard break. Conclusions about this Bilderberg Group. We trace all this way back down, and all goes back to the Council on Foreign Relations. Who put together the Council of Foreign Relations in this country? Rockefellers. So, is the root of all evil in the world actually this wealthy American family, the Rockefellers, who had the power and influence to create this? I believe it's naive to think that all these meetings are just think tanks to discuss issues without consequences. There are many out there that say big changes happened shortly after these meetings. So, as of tomorrow, June 10th, 2018, the Turin, Italy Bilderberg meeting will be over. So, let's all keep our eyes out for what happens in the next few months. Keep in mind there are 12 topics in their list and the attendees, and let's all watch together.
Okay, so we'll be right back after this.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Surlana.
Greetings, Space Cadets. Let's see what's in the sky tonight in the Spaceboy Universe. Tonight, in the eastern sky, we have Spaceboy Universe rising above the horizon in glorious splendor. And in the west, we can see Surlana's Majoris, which is visible at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, just below the K28 belt. So keep your eyes on the sky and listen to Spaceboy Universe.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe. Here are your hosts, Spaceboy and Surlana.
Yes, live in the underground bunker that we call Mission Control, we are broadcasting live across the planet. That is Earth, that is. The third rock from the sun. We like to call it SOL, but that's a different name altogether. Soul. Get your mind out of it together, Solana. So we're back.
No, I'm just deeply confused.
Just making some casual conversation with the Space Cadets. I see they've been rocking and rolling with the topic tonight.
Yeah.
Very, very active, and, you picked a great
topic. Even the people who came in late.
Yes, exactly. And we do know that Spore is out there listening.
Well, as we were waiting to see if anybody calls in, and the number is 833-202-SBUN, in case you want to talk. So I'm waiting on that. The whole thing we were talking about is after World War II, they're like, oh, we got to unify Europe and we got to create the EU. And they did it. They did it for a while. They had their euro currency. And then all of a sudden, Britain says, we've had enough. We're leaving. So that's what Brexit was. Britain leaving the European Union. I was like, okay, well, why did they do that? So I just did a cursory search. They didn't like the disaster the euro went through. The euro disaster made Brits more skeptical of the European Union. So I guess maybe the currency tanked for a little bit in 2008, And I guess they didn't want to be a part of that. They felt they would be better outside of the EU. Now, this is what I didn't know about the EU. There's a quote. The more the European Union does, the less room there is for national decision making. Sometimes the EU rules are simply ludicrous. Now, this is what I didn't know. Like the rule that says you can't recycle a tea bag, or that children under 8 cannot blow up balloons, or limits the power of vacuum cleaners. Sometimes they're truly infuriating, like the time in 2013 there was nothing we could do to bring in better designed cab windows for trucks to stop cyclists from being crushed. And we have a call.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Sure. Patch them through.
Are you there, caller?
I sure am.
It's Bev. How are you, Bev?
Oh, I'm doing just great. Doing just great.
So, you did I get this wrong? I saw in chat that you have new news for this week as well?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead and lay it on us.
I got my new portable oxygen.
I thought you got that last week.
No, I think she was getting some kind of approval, or...
Yeah. Oh. I went in for a walk test and I qualified. So I just got it. Yay!
That's great.
So you got the new tank. So the nice thing that we learned about this last week with you is that it was going to provide you more mobility. So have you had a chance?
Bob better look out. She's going to get away.
Well, I was thinking that they could both get on the hog together and drive off on it.
What hog?
The motorcycle.
I wouldn't be able to get my legs up that high.
I know what you're saying. I'm at that point too. I can't even get in the back seat of our Element anymore.
Well, I like to think of it as her breakdancing, but
I'd have to get like a winch system installed. I had to get a step stool to get up there. I know what Bob's laughing at.
I know the feeling. I'm only 5'1".
Only 5'1"?
Yeah, I'm only 5'3".
I was 5'2" and a quarter. I lost an inch and a quarter.
I blame Bob somehow.
It's called age.
Well, we can all sit around the table on that one.
I'm actually burning up hot now.
Yeah, I'm having to deal with Surlana. I'm hot. I'm cold. I I can't find a middle point.
What? Are you trying to start something just because our counselor is on the phone?
No, I'm just saying that, I tried to make you happy, so I turned up the AC, meaning that I jumped it from 69 to 72, and now it's too hot for it.
Always keeps it on a naughty temperature.
Well, I'm going to admit I keep it low because, my body is generating heat. I mean, BTUs like you can't believe.
My body is chrome. My blood is gasoline.
My body is like the volcano in Honolulu right now, or Hawaii. I mean, I am just generating heat upon heat.
You do that at night too.
Oh, Bob, he's bad about that too.
So my question is, when Dino is lying down, does he ever lie on his back?
Oh gosh.
Your pet Dino.
Yeah, pet Dino. We're not talking about California Dino. See, I was using that as a comparison how I am at night. I mean, I just throw the blankets off. I'm like the dog on his back, and just trying to dissipate all the heat off me.
He burrows under the covers.
And once
he likes being under the covers.
He's a wiener dog, right?
Yep.
I forgot we were talking about a dog. I thought she meant Bob. Oh God.
Yeah, I'll be able to use it when we go to my great niece's graduation party.
Well, that's great to hear that you got that equipment, because I know how it can be when you have an issue. And
well, we've learned just a little bit with Spaceboy's disc issue, where I was pushing him around in a wheelchair.
Oh,
which I didn't
that
mind.
Gets hard.
It's just hauling it around and everything, but I liked pushing him around.
How did you reduce me to an it? Hauling it
No,
around.
the chair, the thing.
Yeah, but I'm in it, and it just
not when I'm like collapsing it and then putting it in the something, and you're not sitting in it.
I didn't like to be reduced to an it.
I wasn't calling you an it. I was calling the chair an it. But I like literally pushing you around, and I can put you where I want you and then walk away.
Yeah, and that's why we stay away from like high cliffs, mountains,
freeways.
Yeah, freeways. Busy intersections. I'm thinking about maybe retiring now to like some, backwoods farm out in the middle of Texas, and so that she doesn't have me anywhere for me to push. Push off to, into the great beyond.
I say, are you separating from me, or
no? I'm just saying that. You would be separating from me. Yeah.
I'll tell you, it looks weird not seeing the because it had a filled thing on top of my oxygen machine where I refilled the tank.
Mm-hmm.
It looks weird not seeing that.
Sorry, my chair's squeaky.
Yeah. Bob says, "Yay! I'm not a pack mule anymore." Those tanks are heavy when they're full.
Well, now that you have less tank, you can demand piggyback rides now. So, Bob doesn't get off.
No, I would break his back. I'm serious. I would break his back. Then I'd have to be pushing him around. I can't do that.
Oh, I admire you, Bev, because at least you're loving and you're sweet to your husband. I mean,
that's a dig at me.
I struggle. The struggle is real with me to find out what that means.
I have been an angel through this whole thing with his trying to find out what's wrong with him, getting diagnosed, and trying to keep him somewhat pain-free, because I've seen up close and personal how bad it got and can get, and I felt horrible. Just like, because there's literally nothing I can do other than throw ibuprofen at him and bring him something to drink, bring him a meal, bring him his medication, take him to a doctor, take him to get in there. I mean, that's the most I can do to help out. And
right,
just even now when he's feeling a little run down, I will bring him some tea, and I'll make dinner and bring him. I say, "Do you want seconds?" And I'll get him go get it. And as soon as we get a solution and he's pain free, that all stops.
So you're telling our audience and Bev this whole thing that you want a gold star. Is that what you want?
Yes. I want a plaque, a trophy, and a gold star, and a handwritten certificate.
Well,
get it now.
Well, to earn all that,
I've already earned it. It's done. Bring it.
You have to have the skills that Bev has. How she loves her husband and cherishes him.
If I didn't love and cherish you, there ain't no way I would have done any of that.
So anyway,
there you go.
You're about to have another slip disc.
Bev, it's been wonderful hearing from you.
See what you did?
We love you, dear.
She loves you.
Whatever. I'm not buying it. So yeah, she's buying her time until the real part comes in.
Oh yes, AKCOG or ACOG. I know all about Dilaudid.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. I know all about that drug.
So anyway, thanks for calling, Bev. We appreciate you calling in. We love you when you call in, and we're glad that you've gotten that new medical upgrade. And
yes,
awesome. Give you some mobility.
I got it just in time for my birthday too.
Yes,
awesome. Get out there and party, and just leave Bob in the dust.
When is your birthday? This next week, Bev, or is it? When is it?
The 12th.
The 12th. Oh yeah, okay.
The 12th.
Getting close to there. We'll make sure to butter you up coming up or on our social media or our next program. So it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
Bob's is 9 days after mine, the 21st.
Mm-hmm. I'll keep an eye on that situation.
I'm 2 years older than he is.
Oh, we know.
So he calls me his old woman.
Well, if he was around, I'd smack him for you.
After 32 years of marriage, I'm just used to it.
No, I
don't want to waste my energy.
Okay. Well, go conserve your energy so you can party down.
Oh, I'm going to.
Good.
But after this year, I'm not having any more birthdays. This is the limit.
Okay. You say so.
Oh, 60. I remember when I was a teenager, that was like ancient.
Well, time flies. All right, Bev.
I know.
We're getting another call, so we're going to let you go there.
All righty. Well, I love you guys.
We know.
We
Back
love
at you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
One second, caller. Let me grab. I think I know who this is because it's anonymous.
Oh, there's only one person.
There's only one anonymous that calls us.
Yes, that's right. That's me.
It's the other Dino, who's not a wiener dog.
Who doesn't burrow under the covers for the heat.
Well, that's another.
I've been known to do that.
I was going to say. How are you, Dino?
Okay, I hope you have your dump button working tonight.
Well, I hope he's calling to talk to me because he talks to you a lot, Space Boy.
Oh, well, that's because we're both in a clandestine operation together, and we're just doing our bit to support the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was it. I had some business the last couple of days with Space Boy, but I did say hi to you, Surlana.
Mm-hmm.
So,
as I walked out of the room.
Well, I didn't have as much time to concentrate on your Bilderberg subject. I'm not sure. It can be a scary topic because it makes you wonder. Of course, anybody who does the research or just looks at who these top families are and how they have multi-generational inheritances and resources and real estate and companies that they own would know that even if you don't believe in conspiracies, that they definitely have control of some things or influence some things on the planet as a whole, whether it's government, agriculture, scientific research, health. And so, it's too bad we have to be in fear of these people, but when you have 1% of the 1%, with the technology of the last 25 years, it can get scary. You wonder who is directing the direction of our planet.
Who's the puppet master?
Yeah, it makes you wonder, you know, and so I mean that's the main thing, and I guess we won't talk about the other thing we were talking about today until it happens, but I hope it does. And by the way, what kind of dump button do you own? Is it a brand name?
You know, the thing is that, you know, we do this like the old, you know, Art Bell. He didn't have a dump button.
Could you explain that, please?
Basically, a dump button is like it gives us a few seconds if somebody was to say something naughty, that they would.
No, this is very much live. In the moment.
It's very live and in the moment. It's very fluid. It's organic. It's happening now. Of course, you know, we could get a dump button, but I would prefer the honor system and people to call in. And you know, sometimes things get a little sassy, if you will, and but you know, for the most part, we try to keep it family, you know, friendly with everybody, you know. So that's why we have not purchased a dump button. But should I purchase a dump button for you, Dina?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how much of a delay do you have? How many seconds is the delay before my call or somebody's call gets on air?
I have no idea.
It's not very. It's like seconds.
It's the internet, so it's just like
whatever, you know, that delay. That
we're on business
delay.
Class, so
yeah. So you know, I don't worry.
Oh,
because,
okay. Well, I always wondered why you didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, and that, you know, that comes from the old days with Art Bell, and he didn't really have a dump button. He kind of kept it live. I think I don't even recall. Maybe later on, I guess he might have gotten a kind of a delayed button. In fact, now that I think about it, I think he did have some kind of delay button, depending on what they said, because you know he was going over, you know, regular airwaves. But since this is internet,
AM broadcast.
Yeah, so it's not like we're subjected to the FCC, but you know. And then, of course, when we pass the show along to our good friends at the PAUK Radio Network, you know, that is a pre-recorded thing, and I usually go through and rebrand it for the PAUK Radio Network.
You can take things out if you needed to.
Yeah, so, yeah. But I keep everything as it is, so yeah, there's your answer. And
yeah, because I think once or twice since you've been on air, I might have let something slip that oops, you know, because when you don't have the FCC to deal with, it's okay. But yeah, once you start going out over the FCC monitored airwaves, you know, it's better to have that. Okay, well, I wondered about that.
And I was going to say, when we were on terrestrial radio out in Arizona. You know, we didn't have a dump button then either. It was recorded. I mean, it went live when we broadcasted. It
going by faith that we
like,
behave ourselves.
Yes, so please don't put us in the doghouse.
We have our own standards of language and morality and, you know, subject matter that we won't do. And I think as a regular listener, you've probably figured out what we won't talk about or say. And, you know, I do have a statement on our website about how what we, you know, the opinions of guests and listeners who call in are not necessarily those of Spaceboy Universe or any of our affiliates who rebroadcast our show, and, you know, keep that in mind. And here's what we, you know, how we tolerate bullying and hate speech and blah blah blah. So our policies are out there.
And those of the listening audience has experienced when I've cracked down on.
And I have pointy knives.
Cracked down on, especially there was you know, I'll just say this, Beverly, I know she won't regret me saying this or anything, but there was a guy that was in our chat room, and you know, he was not being nice, and I had to ban him from our chat room, and you know, because he was very antagonistic, and I'm, you know, not going to let that slide. I mean, I try to. You know, one, we try to get a clean, good environment for everyone to listen to. And two, you know, when it comes to the chat room, I'm very bully when it comes to that, in the sense that I want people to come to our chat room and not have to worry about, okay, this guy is just the meanest person, whatever. I want to grow our community that that they feel welcome, that they feel like there's no pressure, and that's translates back into the show, where when we have guests on, we want them to feel laid back. We're not going to, subject them to questions that make them feel uncomfortable, but at the same time, we want to have a conversation, and sure, we're going to agree to disagree sometimes, but at the end, there are things we can find common ground with, and that's the kind of show we like to produce.
Yeah, I know, it's good to hear that, unlike the wild parties you and Surlana hold, that you keep that part of your life separate from here.
The wild parties we have with our cat.
Yeah, you and that hot tub, some of the things that we've done there. Okay, but anyway, it's good that we discuss this subject tonight, this Bilderberg subject, because I mean, a lot of people just go around their merry way, and there's a lot more going on right now, not just politics, but a lot of things going on. I mean, for example, I never believed in chem spraying, and spraying programs, but it seems more and more evidence. And just last week, we had a beautiful blue sky, and then in the afternoon, I was driving to do an errand, and literally saw the jets laying out X's over my house, and there were other jets flying with nothing behind them, and then some with this white puff, puff, puff going on. And so if there is any, proof that these rich, wealthy families or wealthy entities that are, worldwide, this would be one of the programs that I think could be funded by them,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not an expert on it. It's scary to talk about. I keep hearing about scalar weapons, that people that have certain information and talk about it publicly get harassed. I don't know if it's true, but I keep an open mind, because some people do seem to be being bothered,
Mm-hmm.
And you're in Texas there, but a lot more people, I don't know, people still look at me funny, but a lot more people are seeming to have all kinds of Sasquatch experiences, or encounters that you didn't hear about. So are people making this up? Is it mass hysteria? These are things that a program like yours talks about, and so far I haven't heard that you've had any kind of technical attacks or otherwise personal strangeness for your show, So keep on telling the truth.
That's because nobody knows we exist.
Whoa, Surlana. The thing is that
don't put down your own show.
No, I'm saying certain people, if what you're talking about, they don't know.
Oh, I see.
We're under the radar, I think.
We're I guess in the right spot if you're to believe what Surlana's saying. And I was going to say that you're absolutely right when it comes to the subject matter we approach tonight. It is very how can I say,
concerning,
overwhelming is the word I was looking for.
It's a big topic, because when you dig down deep, and it covers more. Because
when you start looking at all the players in this game, it's like, holy crap, where do I run? There's just nowhere to run to. It's kind of like there's a big meteor about to blow up the world, and where do you run to? Well, there's nowhere to run to. You're just going to have to, as they say, bend over and kiss your butt goodbye.
You can dig really fast.
So it is what it is, Dino. You got to present, what you see, the facts of the matter that are out there. Now, at the flip on this coin is that although we have a lot of things that say if it quacks like a duck, it must be a duck, we really don't have the hardcore stuff that's happening behind closed doors or what they're saying. So there's still more truth there that needs to be uncovered. It's like Richard Hoagland once said on Art Bell's show, is that the truth is a moving target. You have to be, rolling with that target just so that you're hitting the truth constantly. So when new truth comes along, we need to readjust and to be able to hit that target. And this is one of those things that as the truth is found out, we need to adjust our line of thinking to add to our basket of knowledge.
Yeah, and what you say is true, because I think there's a foreign word for it, but when you get into things like the Bilderbergs, it really is an onion layer. There's the concept of an onion layer. There's layer after layer after layer, And if most people are too lazy or they just put in their minds, oh, that's BS, and they don't take the time to look at the various layers that point to what we're talking about tonight, that's why they call it the onion, you know.
Mm-hmm. And also, if I can quote somebody else that I really appreciated before he passed away, and still, as he's still in my mind, and that's Jim Mars, and he's always said that don't take my word for it. Go hunt for the truth yourself. I mean, don't just take take it
words.
So between that and what Richard has spoken on Art Bell's show, they're just good information to take as my arsenal as I move forward to find the truth out for myself as we explore the universe.
Yeah, a funny story, by the way. I sent you a message about the Dead and Company are on tour, and I love the original Grateful Dead music and the Experience, and they've brought some of that. They're three of the original members, and so every so often they've been posting wherever they are the opening set and the opening of the second set song, which I told you about. I hope you got to view.
Yeah, I did.
And then I found out that the whole show was live on my satellite radio, so I switched to that. But it's kind of funny story talking about Bilderbergs is that Bob Weir, the original member of the Dead who's kind of organized them in the last couple of years to go back on tour, happens to have my same birthday, and he happens to live in my town. And when he opened a few years ago, he opened with a partner a little music hall place. It's a little cafe restaurant that has music, and he plays there sometimes, but they have many acts that come through. And it's rented, obviously. It's located right downstairs from a, what do you call it, not the Bilderbergs, man, isn't this terrible? I must be tired. The organization, the one that Leo Zigambati talks about and all that stuff. The Masons. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
And it's dropped downstairs from the local Masons Lodge. So I called up a show that happens once a week on satellite radio about the Grateful Dead, and they discuss everything Dead and the Grateful Dead. And I asked the two guys that have known them for years, I go, is Bob Weir a Mason? And they went, no, they poo-pooed it. They go, don't start that rumor. And I said, yeah, but the place he opened this restaurant music hall downstairs from a Mason's local hall. So that's kind of funny. You can see it everywhere if you look for it.
So let me ask you real quick, since you got a chance to listen to the music tonight, how is it compared to the original group? I mean,
to the original group?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the guy, John Mayer, that is taken, he's young, and he's someone I really never heard much about. And, he has a different personality than Jerry Garcia, but he certainly has learned to flow with the band. Anybody who doesn't know the real Grateful Dead, not just a couple of songs that came out 40 years ago, they were a real flowing band, one of the best live acts, because they incorporated blues, rock, country, folk music, and jazz even. I mean, Miles Davis played with them. People don't realize how many people have sat in with them. And so the new group has Bob Weir, who was the original rhythm guitarist and did a lot of the vocals. He still does. And the two drummers, a lot of people don't realize, but the Dead for many years had two drummers. And the two guys, Mickey and Billy, actually took LSD at one point many years ago in the late 60s so they could be synchronized in their drumming. And they do, if you love percussion, you've got to love the Dead. So their original members, Bobby is, Phil Lesh is getting very old. He has another restaurant in the county here that he plays himself because he's in his late 70s. He got tired of touring. But they have a wonderful bass player who I don't know much about, but he's an African-American guy that just flows. I mean, the guy plays a 6-string bass, and he keeps up with them. And John Mayer, as I say, can do all the Jerry-type leads, and he can just flow and take it anywhere. And then you have, they've had bad luck with their organists and keyboard players. They had two of them die while they were in the band. And ironically, I found out something because the guy they have now, Jeff, is a Libra. I'm a Libra, and the other two keyboardists were Libras, except for Pigpen. I don't think he was. He was the original. And Jeff, I've met him personally. He just flows. I mean, he can play as good as anybody they've had. So when they get into a jam, like tonight they did, believe it or not, Dear Prudence by the Beatles.
Oh, wow.
And it came across very nicely. I mean, they incorporate songs you wouldn't believe. You know, I'm surprised they haven't done a Frank Sinatra tune. So, yeah, they're a lot of fun. I don't go to live shows much anymore, but you know, I was never really a deadhead, but I guess I am now because you can listen to them 24/7 on satellite. So yeah, I have to recommend to anybody, even if you think you don't like, you're going to hear all types of music, you're going to tap your feet, and their audiences are some of the greatest in the world. There's never any trouble or fights. People are courteous. People are just on a good time.
Well, you know, that's something to be said that, you know, it's one thing to hear them off a recording, but to actually participate in a live venue, you know, it brings it up a notch. I can only imagine the magic that goes on with a Dead concert. I know that my parents would have loved it, and probably, maybe not to my knowledge, they probably were at a Dead or two.
I'm not
concerts.
saying anything because this is not my genre of music.
Yeah, you know.
It's like torture to me, so that's why I'm not saying anything.
But anyway, Dino, it's always great to hear from you. You know, the audience loves you. We love you.
Yeah.
Even Bev's dog loves you. So, you know. but
well, I just want to tell Surlana, it's not torture. You know, you should listen to some of these shows, even though they're covering a lot of
sorry, Dino. No, you mentioned folk music, jazz, blues, country music. Those are no.
And rock too. And they also have.
I've listened to them, and they're just. I'm sorry, Dino, they're just not for me. But you love them, and you're passionate about it. That's awesome. I respect it.
Well, you got to hear.
Don't
a live
make me
show.
listen to
That's
it.
all I'm
no,
saying.
no, I don't got it. I don't got to hear nothing.
Anyway,
and Spaceboy knows because he's a musician that they do a space set about every night that they play, drums and space, and it's very different.
Drums and space.
Yeah, that's
like
what it
drum
is.
And bass.
They play stuff, and Mickey developed an instrument called the Beast. That's something he fabricated that makes all kinds of weird sounds, and that part you would like. Maybe you can go on the web, Spaceboy, and play her some of the space music. Just type in Grateful Dead space music, and it's not like, but it's not unlike what you do.
Well, you know, it's hard to convince the yin to yang to yin yang together sometimes, but you know, sometimes she actually participates in the background. And
what? Wonderful. Yes. Like Yoko Ono, huh?
But yeah, that's why I'm the musician, and she only married me to get the free music.
Yep.
So there you go.
Well, if you ever see him online, Surlana, one other thing, you can turn the sound down, but look at the beautiful colors and light show that goes on beyond a Dead show. I'm telling you, you'll love that.
It's even better when you've participated with the things that are going on at a concert.
Yeah, it's very visual, and you know, they've got basketball players, they've got celebrities that show up in the front row and dance, and everybody has a good time, and you know, they imbibe liquids and smokes, you know, sometimes too.
Mm-hmm.
And anyhow, it's just a thing. So I'm glad you got to listen to the. Usually, like every couple of nights, they put on a free, 15-minute free live camera. It's Nugs TV or something, and you can actually buy it if you want to see the whole show.
I was going to say you don't have to sell it to me, Dino, because of the fact that you know, I love music. You know, we can't let. When it comes to music, I like buffet style music. You know, some days I'm this, some days I'm that. You know, Surlana's pretty rigid in what she listens to, but you know, every once in a while she'll surprise me.
He has no idea what he's talking about.
See, you're
not with me every day.
This is why Bev needs to come down for counseling for you, mostly for you.
We should probably just stop talking about music. It's going to get volatile here.
But anyway, Dino, thank you for everything you've been doing behind the scenes, and I'll keep you posted.
Glad to help.
And I love you the heck out of you, and I guess we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Have a good night. Thank you for the show.
Oh yes,
Thank you,
thank you,
Dino.
Dino. All right. So let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Surlana.
Get your game on Spaceboy Universe. Level up with Spaceboy Universe. No quarters, no problems. Play it at Spaceboy Universe.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe. Here are your hosts, Spaceboy and Surlana.
All right, so we were talking about music during the break because Dino unleashed a can of musical worms. And so basically, I agree with a lot of our space cadets. You know, a lot of that is great music, country music. Now, see,
they're listing them in chat.
And the thing is, with me, my grandma would drive around and we'd listen to good old classic country music, Tammy Wynette,
all the stuff they listed,
and I mean just everything that you're listing there in the chat room.
Everything they listed, I'm like,
and then
torture.
And then there was a song called Sneaky Snake. And my grandfather would play that, and he would be cooking, and he would dance for me. My grandfather would dance; it would make me laugh like you couldn't believe. So I have fond memories of some country music.
I'm glad. Just don't make me listen to it.
No, it's the modern country music I can do.
Oh, that's horrible. That's even worse. I think there's anything worse than country music. It's modern country music.
And it's kind of interesting I bring this topic up because I was reading a thing about how music today, it sucks.
It's so bland.
It's bland, the way it's produced and everything, because there's no depth, there's no.
However, there's a time and place for everything. There's a time and place for lack of depth.
But no, I mean, the thing is that what I was getting at was this article I was reading is that everything sounds the same because you have these same kind of producers producing the same music.
Yeah. Well, they know it sells.
For example, like Katy Perry and Keisha and
Kesha, I don't know.
Anyway, and a Partridge Pear Tree.
We're too old.
The thing is that a lot of this music is pretty much the same.
But I wanted to address the whole thing of you accusing me of being rigid of what I listen to. It's not true.
You are very particular in what you listen to.
Yes, probably because I don't listen to those 8 genres you just listed.
Well,
but
do I listen to those just 8 genres? John,
you're saying I'm rigid because there's so much I don't listen to because I don't like it.
There is music.
I listen to stuff based on how I'm feeling, and I've been listening to. I shouldn't even tell you this. Kind of explicit rap music.
See, I'm not surprised because I've heard you listen to that kind of stuff, and
it's just a mood. I mean, now I went and made my own playlist on Spotify, and there's playlists already made out there, sure, but I wanted to pick my own, like you said, because I'm so rigid. I wanted to pick my own songs. I went and made a Spotify playlist called Great Hair, and that means I went and got 80s metal hair bands and started building a playlist based on just the songs I want to hear. And then I'll go back to the rap thing, and then I'll go to my beloved 80s new wave, and then I'll go back to some random modern stuff. So maybe I am rigid, but I enjoy what I enjoy. You can enjoy what you enjoy.
Well, the thing is that
and never the twain shall meet.
I need, as a musician, to be able to listen to all music. And then,
well, good. I'm glad you've got ways to do it.
No, I don't want you to say, well, good for you.
Well, good for you.
Christian Bell, you need to calm down over there, okay?
You and I are done professionally.
So the thing is that I try to keep an open mind and listen, and it goes back to what I said earlier about I may not agree on your musical style.
And every time he says, I try to keep an open mind, this is what I hear. I'm better than you. I'm better than you.
Well,
meaning me.
I think maybe I should say, yeah, I am better than you.
And I admit you're a better human being than me, and I don't even care.
Okay, so once again, there's that therapy. We'll be booking
Bev, can you call back?
Bev, we'll be booking your flight soon to come down here to Houston.
Now that you're mobile.
Yeah, now that you're mobile, there's no excuse. So the thing is that I've got my different musical styles I listen to, and in fact, I have to be very open. In fact, I'm working on making soundtrack music.
I forgot about that. And you don't talk to me about it.
Well, it's like I try to. In fact, when I do most productions now, I wait and say, okay, I need an album cover.
Are you actively doing it now?
I just got the things to preview the video clips.
Okay.
Of what I need to compose, and right off the bat, I need to create a rock song that has a 70s vibe.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Meatloaf type song, and so I need to work on that. But then there's other things that I've got that I have to compose, like a love theme. I've got to compose an action scene. There are things I've got to compose that I haven't really, even though I would say that my mindset is in a theatrical movie kind of way, but get more composing, like
you're gifted like that.
To get more written down, like
it's just that when you
Jerry
say
Goldsmith.
stuff like you're rigid, I kind of want to punch you, but it's not that big of a deal. I'll let it go.
Well, you are very particular on a lot of things, and it's like.
But I'm jazzed about you doing music pun jazzed. I don't like jazz. I'm jazzed about you doing what you're doing with that production. You providing soundtrack, because that you said you're going to need these different genres of, because it makes me think of the original Star Trek. Now that music was pretty much very 60s sounding.
Yeah.
But maybe that's where you could draw some influence, I suppose. But I like the fact that they need these different flavors, and you know all about them and can provide them.
It is, and it's challenging me, which is a good thing. And so we'll see how that all rolls down. And I'm looking forward to producing this music, and still going to produce the other music. I still got the other album I'm working on. I haven't been able to write music until fairly recently, which that's why I did that cover. I kind of already
had the itch.
I had the itch to do something creative, and
gotta get it out.
I mastered it and everything, and
if
you follow me on Facebook, then you'll get a chance to see that and hear that, even actually hear me sing. So it is what it is, and like I said, I'm working on projects, which is leading us to housekeeping. And what do you got over there, Surlana?
Well, as far as housekeeping for this show, I don't know what to tell you. It's kind of by the seat of our pants from week to week, but if I know something, it will get posted on our social media, and you'll know about it. There's something in the works, but we can't give you a definitive answer on it. We can't even speculate about it right now. So,
well, the thing is, after Comic Palooza, we're trying to run the race again for guests and book people.
Again, if you have suggestions of people you want on, try to see if you can facilitate a way for us for that to happen. Make the suggestion, or if you even know the person, help us get together with them. We'd be happy to do that. That's kind of what's happening right now. So when I know, you'll know.
and keep
I'll
in
put
mind,
it out there.
In the old days, I used to say, "This is my universe, and you're in it." But the reality is, you're a part of this universe. So if there's somebody you hear and you want them to be on our show, and you think that would be great, let us know who that person is, or point them in our direction. And and always tell them that you'll get a fair shake here at ASBU, because we're not
hard-hitting journalists.
We're not 60 Minutes here, and we just want to have a conversation.
We're not even professionals
and learn, So if you do know somebody, let us know, and or let them know where they come, and we'd love to get them on the air.
So that's going on. Of course, we do have off in the distance. We do have Maker Faire, which is in October. We will be there, and I don't know how deeply we'll be involved in that, but I've been doing some volunteer stuff for them. And if there's something else that comes up between then and then, you'll be there. You can look up Maker. If you go to spaceboyuniverse.com, there's some animation sliding by. You'll be able to click to get to the Maker Faire website to find out more about Houston Maker Faire if you want to attend and what they're all about. It's a great, good fun. And of course, you can always go to our social media to find the videos and images that we just did from Comic Palooza.
Speaking of social media, YouTube, become a subscriber, smack the bell. Off the goat, and we'd appreciate it. It'd keep you up to date whenever we post something to YouTube. Why are you giving me that look? Like
no, I just thought of something.
Okay, and it's important that to keep up whenever we post anything. And as we go closer here to the future, the near future, we should be getting some more stuff up there, more content. It's not just about archiving our show up there, but it's about
getting some new content
and videos and things where you can laugh and look at me, and which don't expect Surlana to be anything.
No, I am so boring.
Yeah, so
you wouldn't want me anyway.
But you expect to hear behind the scenes, so it's all good.
I don't even want to be heard, so you're getting me under duress. But as far as Spaceboy Universe, when I know, we'll let you all know. On a personal level, there's things I'm excited about. We're going to see Riff Tracks live next week, and there's going to be a new episode of Another Dirty Room coming out on YouTube/Amazon Prime. Those are just some things I'm personally excited about.
Well, I'm somewhat excited about those same things, but
one of them I'm just dragging you to.
It's fine because we get to spend time together.
Aren't you going to drag me to that Doctor Who thing?
Well, I don't know. Is it this coming week or is it next week? I have to check the calendar. It's Doctor Who. They're bringing back the episode of how the genesis of the Daleks.
I'm going to see if I can read a book on my phone. If I keep the background dark and the text white, I won't get busted for reading while you're watching that movie.
I haven't gotten into my Aliens book I just purchased. At some point I will, but I also downloaded this cool app that's related to Amazon where I can read comics on my phone, which...
that's pretty cool, babe.
Graphic novels and stuff like that. And I'm kind of excited about that because, I was pretty much buying up all content related to the Aliens franchise, and now I just dived into the graphic novels and the comics, so I'm looking forward to getting my my read on that. So that's kind of cool. What else? I have some binge watching I need to get started on. I started on this new documentary on Netflix about this guy who supposedly knocked his wife down these stairs, and supposedly that's what the I guess the police and all them were kind of pointing to, but with these documentaries on Netflix, they've been really interesting. There's this one I saw called Evil Genius, and it was related to the pizza bomber. Do you remember that, Surlana? I think
sounds familiar.
It's about the guy that got this collar.
I remember you telling me about that.
He robbed the bank, and then he got the cops kind of surrounded him, and he said, "Look, this thing's going to go off."
Is it something he did, or was he being coerced?
Yeah, well, that's what was so interesting about this documentary from Netflix. I highly recommend anybody that has Netflix to go check that out. It's called Evil Genius, and there are many players involved, and some think that the guy that got blown up was a patsy, that he was manipulated to
blackmailed,
slap the collar on. No, you just wasn't blackmailed. He was just it's interesting when I start thinking back on this one. I don't want to give it away for anybody, but Evil Genius, definitely check out. And I can't remember, like I said, this new one I'm watching, it's on Netflix that I just started watching today. It's a 3-parter series on Netflix, and it deals with the police trying to accuse this guy of killing his wife by throwing her down the stairs, and it started presenting the evidence, and it's fascinating.
We don't have any stairs, by the way.
Oh, well,
don't worry.
Thank goodness for that. I don't even think I personally could get up the stairs. So
to be thrown down them.
In fact, I'm talking about the stairs. The Netflix name for the show is called The Staircase, and so
whoa,
dun dun dun.
And on that note.
So it's it is what it is. So, but yeah, you're absolutely right, Surlana. On that magical note, I think we need to get out of here. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
We need to cool down.
Well, I want to thank all the space cadets that showed up this evening. It's been great to see y'all all there. It's nice that you didn't.
It was hopping tonight.
You didn't leave us completely after our little break that we had. But thank you. We appreciate you, and hopefully you'll tune in next week and support the universe. And I guess we'll see you then. So on that note, I'm not going to even ask Surlana good night because I know how she goes. So there you go. So Surlana, good night, goat.
Spaceboy Universe is hosted by Spaceboy and Surlana. Executive producer is Surlana. Social media producer is Dennis Koch. Associate producer is Lee Ann Cordes. Music production is Spaceboy of SpaceboyMusic.com. Special thanks goes out to Lee Ann K28, Solars Blue Raven, Patrick Spurrier, Dino, Bob and Beverly M. This has been a Spaceboy Universe production. Support the universe by exploring Spaceboy Universe with Spaceboy and Surlana. Sweet dreams, Space Cadets.